The Thousand Days War, known in Spanish as the Guerra de los Mil Días, was a civil war fought in Colombia from October 17, 1899, to November 21, 1902. It was the deadliest and most destructive war in Colombian history, resulting in an estimated 100,000 to 150,000 fatalities, about 2.5% of the nation's population at that time. The conflict was fueled by deep political and ideological divisions between the liberal and conservative parties. Here are some of the key factors that contributed to the outbreak of the war. Deep-seated political and ideological divisions. Colombia's two main political parties, the liberals and the conservatives, had been at odds for decades over issues such as the role of government, economic policy, and religion. The liberals favored a federalist system of government, free market economic policies, and a more secular society, while the conservatives supported a strong central government, interventionist economic policies, and a close alliance between church and state. These deep-seated divisions made it difficult to find common ground and compromise, paving the way for conflict. Economic hardship and social unrest. The late 19th century saw a decline in coffee prices, Colombia's main export crop, which caused economic hardship for many Colombians, particularly liberal coffee growers. This economic discontent, coupled with growing social unrest and the perception of inequality, fueled resentment and support for anti-government sentiment. Regional tensions and grievances. The war was predominantly fought in rural areas, where long-standing grievances between different regions exacerbated the conflict. Land ownership disputes, resource control issues, and cultural differences, simmering for years, contributed to the escalation of violence. These regional tensions provided fertile ground for the war to take hold. The rise of militarism and political extremism. The late 19th century saw a rise in militarism and political extremism in Colombia. Both the liberal and conservative parties developed armed factions, and their rhetoric became increasingly incendiary. This atmosphere of hostility and mistrust made it easier for the conflict to erupt. External influences and international rivalries. While the Thousand Days War was primarily a domestic conflict, it was also influenced by external factors, such as the rivalry between the United States and Britain for control of the Panama Canal. These international tensions added another layer of complexity to the conflict. The war began on October 17, 1899, when liberal rebels attacked government forces in Bucaramanga. The conflict quickly escalated, and by the end of the year, both sides had mobilized large armies. The war was fought in a number of different regions of Colombia, but the most intense fighting took place in the coffee-growing regions of the country. The first phase of the war lasted until May 25, 1900, when liberal forces were defeated at the Battle of Palongro. After this setback, the liberals resorted to guerrilla warfare, targeting government outposts and military supply lines. The second phase of the war was characterized by brutal violence and destruction. The liberals, fighting with fewer resources and less manpower, were often at a disadvantage. However, they managed to inflict significant damage on the government's infrastructure and economy. The war finally ended on November 21, 1902, with the signing of the Treaty of Nilondia. The treaty did not resolve the underlying causes of the conflict, but it did bring an end to the fighting. Consequences of the war. The Thousand Days War, a devastating civil conflict that ravaged Colombia from 1899 to 1902, left a trail of profound and lasting consequences that shaped the country's trajectory for decades to come. The war's impact was felt across various aspects of Colombian society, from its political landscape to its economic stability and social fabric. Political repercussions. The war cemented the dominance of the Conservative Party in Colombian politics, further entrenching their power and marginalizing the liberals. This prolonged political imbalance exacerbated existing tensions and hindered efforts to foster a more inclusive and representative system of government. Economic devastation. The war's destruction of infrastructure, disruption of trade, and depletion of resources dealt a severe blow to Colombia's economy. The country's finances were in shambles, and the process of economic recovery was slow and arduous. The impact of the war's economic toll was felt across all sectors of society, from farmers and merchants to industrialists and workers. Social rupture. The Thousand Days' War exacerbated existing social divisions and fueled new ones. The loss of life, displacement of people, and erosion of traditional social structures left deep scars on Colombian society. The war's aftermath was marked by social unrest, increased violence, and a widening gap between the rich and the poor. Loss of Panama. One of the most far-reaching consequences of the war was the loss of Panama. In 1903, just a year after the war's end, Panama declared independence from Colombia. The United States, heavily invested in the construction of the Panama Canal, played a significant role in supporting Panama's secession. This loss of territory was a major blow to Colombia's national pride and territorial integrity. Enduring legacy. The Thousand Days' War left a lasting legacy on Colombian society, influencing the country's political, economic, and social development for decades to come. The war's consequences served as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked political polarization, the importance of economic stability, and the need for a more cohesive and inclusive society. The Thousand Days' War was a watershed moment in Colombian history, leaving a profound and multifaceted impact that continues to resonate today. The war's consequences serve as a cautionary tale, highlighting the importance of addressing deep-rooted social, economic, and political divisions to prevent future conflicts and foster a more peaceful and prosperous Colombia. Thanks for watching.